My name is John Hollenberg, and today we are talking about, it's a bit of a case study, and I've brought in the big guns. I've brought in Saxon, and he's had a lot to do with this as well, in and around how this lawyer went from zero to hero in under 12 months. And it's a pretty awesome case study. As always, anyone who's been on these webinars, it is highly interactive. By all means, jump in, ask questions. We'll do our best. Sometimes we just get excited and just run over and ramble about digital marketing for hours and hours on end. No, that's not going to happen. We're going to try and keep it around 30 minutes. We might go a little bit over, and if there's a heap of questions or whatever, we can do that. So this lovely smiling man that we see on screen. So beautiful, Saxon, sorry, you can hear me and see my screen okay. Can you give me a thumbs up? Good. Awesome, buddy. Yeah. So this smiling man, I've got a bit of beard envy of this guy. He's a nice, thick, wholesome beard. You can see my greys are poking through. I'm showing my age here. He's still looking fresh and young, and he's very not too bitter and twisted yet. Saxon heads up Gravitate Digital, and what we're going to introduce Saxon, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his background. He's got an awesome story about how you were working for a pretty notable website there in North America. Yeah. We got a few bullet points here, Saxon. So do you want to just say g'day and just tell us a little bit?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Okay, my background, just in a quick snapshot, is that I studied psychology at university. Didn't want to really sit down and tell people how to live their lives, but I did have a fascination with behavior and how people work in business, and in turn, a lot of business psychology and consumer behavior sort of focus in my psych degree. Then ended up going and during that time ran some swim schools in Brisbane. They became franchisees and we scaled them across, across Brisbane, 15,000 kids a week. So very systemized, very, very strong. So it was really good. I've had a bit of psychology at uni, and then I was also able to sort of apply a bit of that at work, but also just learn how businesses operate really well in the service industry. My wife and I, well, at that time, just girlfriend, went over to Whistler in Canada just for a 6-month holiday, proposed over there, got married over there, because we ended up living there for nearly 7 years. And in that time, I joined a team there called Snowboard Addiction. And at the time, it was just me and one other guy, the guy that owns it. And he was doing YouTube videos, doing very, very well with them, millions and millions of views every year. They were the biggest educational platform on snowboarding. And we then started inventing training products, and those training products did really, really well. So they ended up getting picked up by Dragon's Den, which is like, Shark Tank of North America, ended up being in the hands of many, many different Olympic teams. And the business just scaled really, really quickly, ended up having over 1 million people to the website every 6 months of winter. And we had 9 warehouses around the world. So it was a really great experience over from 2014 to 2018-ish. And in that time, we did a bunch of Facebook ads, Google ads, and I reckon of all the things that we were doing, the SEO, the Google ads, the Facebook ads was the most needle shifting activities that we did for the website. And that really brought me in. And I guess my psych background, then applying that with a bit of statistics and all of that, really helped understand that space. So then moved back in 2019 to Australia and got Gravitate Digital going. And
living in a good part of the world, Cabarita, northern New South Wales.
Cabarita Beach, yeah, it's
so good.
Just south of Queensland, but it's a beautiful spot, and got a great team now. We've got five on the books, and growing rapidly. But more so that we've just got a really good, deep, narrow client list of, and we work very. We've been with everyone, nearly, a year or two plus. Haven't lost a client yet, so it's going beautifully with the way that the things are going. Yeah. So our specialty is Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok, and LinkedIn advertising.
He is the traffic man. You want traffic to your website from a paid perspective, so all these different platforms. Yes, Saxon does a great job, which is why we partner with Saxon. So obviously, we're going to get into the pieces of the puzzle, why you should listen to us for the next, sort of 20, 25 minutes. We are looking at a professional services firm. So as you said, Saxon, you've got a heap of experience in that space. So do we. Like, we've worked with an untold amount of lawyers and accountants and financial planners and, you know, business coaches and all that sort of stuff. You name it, we've done it. The principles are all the same. So in this instance, we're using a criminal lawyer, and we're going to cover off on where we started with you, what we did, the results we generated, and what potential future opportunities exist out there on the horizon. Does that sound good, everyone? Can I get a little thumbs up in the chat if you are open to that? So if we look at the landscape and where we actually started with this specific client, it was nothing but crickets, because literally he'd been working for a bigger firm, so based out of Melbourne, had a very open discussion with the partners of the firm saying, look, I want to go out, I want to do business for myself. So he was literally starting from scratch. So in January 2021, this was a fresh new business. No domain, didn't even have a domain name registered, no logo, no content, nada, zip. So obviously, like, we're 13 months on from there. And what we did over the 12 months is what we called the rolled out the lot. So anyone who's been on one of these webinars with us, this lovely succulent looking burger is our digital analogy for the marketing services that we provide. And really what it is, it's very early on in the piece, we realized it's not actually all about the website, it's about the outcomes that the website generates. And by being more outcomes focused as a solution provider for our clients, and really having that long-term mindset that it's not in and out, it's not deliver a project and move on to the next one and brush our hands of it and say, good luck to you. It's about being joined at the hip and making sure that we are invested in the outcome. So really, we spend the first 4 months getting everything together in terms of all the visual assets and building the website and doing all the foundational work. We then ramp things up in the cook phase, and then in the final phase is when we get to wrap our lips around the big fat juicy burger, and that's when we can, you know, taste some of the fruits of our labor. So that's the
love it. Yeah.
The succulent digital marketing analogy. So these are the ingredients, and, you know, depending on the client and their approach, we may interchange some stuff. And obviously what we're talking about today is some paid traffic as well. So that's where Saxon can add a lot of value in this discussion. So we've got the bun, which is the digital strategy. We've got logo and branding. We've got the visuals, the content. We've obviously got the website. The SEO is a way that we drive a lot of targeted traffic, and we're going to dig into that and how SEO works really well with paid traffic. They sort of go hand in hand. And the final thing that sits at the foundation is all your infrastructure, your hosting and support, and all that sort of stuff. So
what do we do on this special sauce or something? Yeah,
that's it. The
tomato sauce, ketchup.
Like, well, that's the thing. Maybe that's the paid traffic side of it. The special sauce that we
talk later.
Drizzle on the top.
Yeah.
So if we look at the different pieces that we rolled out specifically for this client. So obviously the foundational piece is the digital strategy, and this is where we spend a lot of time really understanding, like, who are we partnering with? What do they do? How they do that? What do their clients look for? And really, like, just setting up a definition of what success actually looks like for the project. So in this instance, we're identifying opportunities, and this lawyer specializes in criminal law, and obviously they're geographically based in Melbourne. And when we go through this, you can see this fairly ordinary photo that I shot on my iPhone of a sitemap. It's like, how do I make a sitemap look interesting? This is my best attempt at doing that. But you can see here that in a very siloed, structured approach, you can see all the stuff that he does from a legal services perspective. Off to the side, obviously got the legal defenses, and then there's a whole bunch of just like very technical, you know, in the law space, there's a lot of technical information there and precedents and all that sort of stuff. We group it all together, and really it's this siloed structure where essentially there's one page, one topic. Okay, that's the approach. And this is really critical in and around driving traffic from SEO, search engine optimization, the free traffic that we get from Google, and then AdWords, the paid traffic. This is how Google makes billions of dollars every single year off the back of this product here. So you can see here, I've labeled Saxon, sage Saxon. The technical definition of a sage is a very virtuous person who has attained wisdom, and Saxon's definitely that man. So Saxon, if I was to ask you the question, why would this siloed approach be important when from the outset, when you're setting up your foundations and you're looking at the architecture of your website?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think one thing that I find rather unique with 5x5 websites is how crisp and clear the framework or the site architecture really is. And, you know, we work with a bunch of different websites, but often we find that when we try and drive Google Ads to that particular page, say that, you know, it has a lot of other noise on that page. Whereas every 5x5 website we go to, if we're aiming to go to firearm offences, I know for a fact that the keywords on firearm offences are going to be all around that space of firearm. And so if we've created ads that are talking about firearm offences, then the ad quality, which is something that Google and Facebook do look at, Google and Facebook actually go to the landing pages of any ads that we run, and they actually look through them to see that there's congruence of, you know, firearm offences with the ad that says something around the world of firearm offences. And if they marry up, our quality score as an ad and also quality scores regarding with SEO, they go up in the ranks. And so when you're running a website that doesn't have a good architecture, Google Ads will perform a little bit weaker, you know, SEO will be weaker, but that's something I really love about the skeleton or the architecture of 5x5 websites is you make my job a lot easier because you can then just point at the respective page and know that the quality of it is going to be really crisp.
Correct. And it's better for the client. So would you say clients get actual better bang for buck in terms of their
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're basically someone searches. Look, I shouldn't have picked firearm offences as the search term, but for conversation, we'll stay with it. So someone searches firearm offences into Google, and you know, then it pops up with an ad talking about firearm offences in the language. They then click through that ad, and then they're seeing firearm offences on the landing page. All of that congruence makes for an easy conversion compared to, say, if they landed on a page that was talking about, say, legal services, and then they're having to hunt to find the page or the information they're looking for. So it just makes everything very streamlined, a click away. And that's another thing is I love about these websites is you land on the home page even, and it's you can quickly navigate to the respective page you're after right away. It's not a hunt to find it.
That's a good lead in. So just very briefly in and around brand, I said the client didn't have a logo. So obviously we did that from a branding perspective. You can see that it's just a nice, clean, confidence oozing brand. You know, there's some subtleties in and around shields and all that sort of stuff. So essentially there was just a branding component in there. And then obviously we need to build a website, and this is really what you were talking about then, Saxon, which is, you know, there's so much that goes into a website from a design perspective, and we've spoken extensively about this on lots of other webinars, but really, you know, design is a differentiator. It's a way of engaging people. For the purpose of today's discussion, you know, we really focus in and around conversions and calls to action. So maybe you can speak to that, Sage Saxon.
Yeah. Well, first off, a conversion can be anything that the client or the website has as a goal. So in an e-com website, the conversion might be a purchase. In a service business like Sher Lawyers, it's a phone call, an email, or a form submission.
Yep.
And in then saying that, you know, we can even see over on this picture of the homepage, like right up the top, you've got the phone number, which is inviting. Right on landing, another thing I love about these websites is it's very clear as to where I am. If I'm in Victoria, I know within the third word that the word Victoria is there. I also know that I'm on a criminal lawyer's website. And so those two clarities of location and service are just so critical. But another thing I love about, this is that there's CTAs all the way through. When I say CTAs, they're calls to action. So there's phone numbers, contact us, there's form submission, and they're within, a mouse scroll away, which makes my job great because when we send it to the website, we're not we get measured on our conversions, and so to have them in the right spot really helps the flow, helps the funnel.
Don't make people think, and really, like if you look at the flow of the funnel, you might be doing an amazing job as an AdWords expert getting people through to the website. But if the website is just leaking people all over the place, then that's your blockage. That's where you're going to waste a whole bunch of budget. So we then look at step 4. So in this instance, we're talking content, and one of the big plays here, and we got some really juicy stats. Saxon just gets very, very excited about tables and graphs and all that sort of stuff. So we got a bunch of that coming. So there's a multi-pronged approach from a traffic perspective, and content, as Saxon touched on it before, was important for the quality score within Google Adwords, but also SEO. So the bulk of the traffic actually comes from SEO, but it goes hand in hand with the paid traffic. Now, we're working with a busy lawyer that is in startup phase, and he just doesn't have the time or the patience to write a whole bunch of technical content around the stuff. So we actually engaged a freelance copywriter to help with this. And this is an example of, the legal defenses page where there's a really
like an
approach.
expert in legal terms or something like that?
Spot on. Yeah. So like, I don't know all the legal defenses, but essentially, in this industry, it was really helpful to partner with someone. They essentially on each page, 1,000 words plus of content. From a search engine optimization perspective, we sort of touched on the quality score. Is there anything else to add in the mix there around content, Saxon?
I think uniquely for sure lawyers, more than most businesses, is the particular keywords that we're targeting for SEO and for ads. They enter into a world of potentially in Google ads in particular, where we could actually have our account disabled if we fire off the wrong keywords, because obviously that, like, take sexual offenses, for example, that terminology we can't run cleanly in an ad. So we have to be quite inventive, but also keep our finger on the pulse of the Google policies, just so that we keep our ads in a good standing, that the account stays healthy. But it also does make the navigation of what keywords we can and can't run a little bit more challenging, because we might be able to run, DUI, but we might not be able to run, the word driving, so there's different sort of plays on that. Now we've worked with Sher lawyers for over 6 months now, and we've really sort of dialed in what we can and can't get away with. But one of the wonderful things about the SEO space is that once you can make a website and say whatever you want really on it. So anywhere that we couldn't target particular keywords, what's great is that the bucket is a bit bigger on the SEO world to be able to mention a lot more keywords. And that's where, we've filled every part of this keyword space, with the SEO taking up every possible, keyword that we can't play in ads. Yeah. And then the AdWords are very strict to driving those conversions.
Love it. So SEO plays very nicely with paid traffic, which is an amazing lead into the campaign. So just the fundamentals of running a good, successful SEO campaign isn't around keyword research. So there's a bunch of different tools that we use to actually see what are people going to Google and typing in to find these sort of services. We make sure that then that is very much geared and optimized around each of the respective pages within the website. Another source of traffic is Google My Business, which then goes hand in hand from an SEO, an organic perspective. Obviously, you've got reviews and all that sort of stuff. We've spoken extensively about that in the past. And really, just in that ramp up phase, this is like that middle phase of the eating the burger, is just making Google aware of the new website through targeted backlinks. So essentially, this is where we started. We started driving free traffic. Would you add anything into that, mate, from an SEO perspective?
Oh, look, I just think it's that screenshot says it all, really. You know, that's the money right there, is that, you search for it and it shows up with multitudes of SEO lawyers dominating, and then we clean up the other areas of the searches.
The gaps.
I have to, like, I've worked with a couple of clients with 5x5, and there is not one that, we're not crushing it with the SEO and AdWords.
Awesome.
It's certainly a model that works.
Yeah, and each campaign's different. Like, there's very much subtleties in and around criminal law. You learn a lot about human nature through the stuff that people are being defended for and all that sort of stuff. So that's a good segue then into the Google Ads campaign. So when we're mopping up, do you want to, I'll reveal these points and you can maybe talk to them, if that's okay, Saxon.
Yeah. Well, I guess when we sort of jump in, first and foremost, we need to do our own learnings of what the business needs. So, looking at the site architecture is a great start point. But a big thing that we want to do is we want to understand what we can do so that we breathe with the business the best way. Now, one thing with SEO Lawyers is that he has a lot of different locations around Melbourne, but he also has a lot of different specifics on the criminal law space. So when we build our campaigns, what we've done is we've built them so that we honor each of his services in each of the different locations. And so that way, then, if he decides one month that he wants to turn up certain campaigns for certain services and turn down other services, or turn up an area of business over in Moorabbin, let's turn down Dandenong or something like that, we can actually breathe with him so that we're not sort of bottlenecking a certain area of the business, and in turn we can spread our load a little bit wider. But also, if there's a cheaper product on offering, let's say or a service that's the average order value is lower, we might be able to sort of aim at something that's going to be a bit more bulky in the next month, to kind of honor that margin so that we kind of keep working together to get the best return on investment.
Yep. And look, I've sort of jumped ahead a little bit, but maybe you want to just talk about how you structure this, because everyone, I don't know whether people have run AdWords campaigns. Maybe you can put that in the chat. Have you had a good AdWords campaign firing for you? There's a lot that goes into it, right? It is a science. So maybe you can just talk about campaigns.
Well, like you can see here, we've got 22 campaigns. So the campaigns are what are we targeting? Like what's the goal? Ad groups is the sort of people and the places and the sort of the folder within the campaigns of what we're doing. So for example, driving into granularities of each other, driving offences would be the campaign name. And then in there, we have different targeting for DUI, drug driving, drink driving, driving offences, so that we can actually target ads that speak to each of those, each of those conversations in a search. And then 442 ads that we're running, constantly split testing, getting the best of the best. And then in amongst those ads, where we've got 1,934 keywords. So, the way that we operate is a little bit more intense than, maybe some other, agencies.
Intense guy.
But I don't know if that's a compliment or not. But
you are. No, it's good to be intense. You're passionate, mate.
I think we can, man. And that's the thing, is that if we cover all the bases, part of this is like the video game of making sure that, we do our best to kind of make sure everything is filled. And that's why we go that little bit, over the top, maybe to make these many campaigns. But it doesn't mean we have to run them all at once. But it does mean that when we want to run them all, or we want to run certain ones, we can move things quite quickly, and we're not sort of having to restart the whole thing. Yeah.
And that's really what you've just summarized there, where you can pick and choose. It is very much a fluid process. Turn stuff on and off, see what's working, what's happening out there in the world, all that sort of stuff. Cool. So results, mate. This has all just been ideas up until this point. What have we actually done for the client? So maybe you can explain these graphs.
Well, this is just a 6-month snapshot of the averages and the totals for SureLawyer's Google Ads account. So we can see over on the far left, we've got a conversion rate of 8.99%. So everyone that visits the site from a Google ad, 8.99% of them have converted as the average for the account. We've had over 564 conversions, which is like phone call, email, form submissions, and the average cost is $55. So taking that into the consideration that, you know, services could be anywhere from 1,000 to 15,000 or more, you know, that's, you know, $55 a conversion every day of the week, you know. 31,000 has been invested into Google Ads since we kicked off together 6 months ago. And over on the right-hand side are what I like to call the fluffy metrics. They're the ones that, you know, don't necessarily make anything change in the sense of conversions, but they are sort of in amongst it all. 168K impressions, so that's people just seeing the ads. And then a click-through rate of the ads at 3.74. So that's people seeing the ad, clicking through, and that then correlates to the 8.99% conversion rate back over at the start, which is like of all of those click-throughs, that's how the conversions. And then clicks 6 to 8, and then obviously that same cost. So that's the sort of landscape 1st of September to now.
Awesome. Okay, so I just want to dig into, so cost per conversion. You're saying a conversion is when the phone rings,
correct,
an email comes through.
Yeah.
What is, so then this is the sort of work that you do with a client, like you figure out what's their average what's the conversion rate from those phone calls and those inquiries and all that sort of stuff. And then what does the average sale value actually look like? So, you know, speaking high numbers for a lawyer, what's the average sale value, Saxon?
Well, so anywhere from 1,000 to 20,000 to 40,000, depending on the case. And that's the thing, is that this is an average cost per conversion. Yep. So I could get a conversion to a DUI charge for maybe $10 to $15 to $20. But let's say a sexual offences or like a burglary or, you know, something more sinister. You know, that sort of landscape could be, you know, a much more expensive.
They're in more trouble. They need to pay more.
Yeah. It's a fascinating account to work in, and thankfully we don't see, you know, those more sinister details fire off too often. So yeah.
Cool. So they're the numbers. This is what the graph looks like, and a graph like this just warms my heart, mate. It just puts a big smile on my face from ear to ear. What's this showing?
Yeah, so this is, I thought this would be cool to include for everyone that's watching and anyone that watches in the future, in that this is Google Analytics. Now, every single website you can link up with Google Analytics, and 5x5, they link up their websites with Google Analytics, and so we can then observe all of the information behind the scenes of the website and what's happening. So the source medium, it's one of my favorite pages on Google Analytics. And you can see that it's found in Google Analytics, acquisition, all traffic source medium. So I encourage you to go and explore it. But that top graph is the users. So that's incorporating every single source of traffic to the website over the last year. And it includes SEO, Google Ads, you know, everything that's driven it. And you can see that that's gone on that nice, healthy incline. So if we look at column row 1, this is our SEO work that 5x5 do. And you can see that there's 31,000 people visiting the website from Google search, 76% of all visits to the website. And then, you know, as we grow along the list, we talk about behavior, time on site, those sorts of things. And then we also hit the conversions, and we can see that SEO is also contributing to 30% of all the conversions. And then the next line, we have Google CPC. So that's where my whole entire existence with SureLawyers is row 2. And that is where we've driven 14% of the users. Obviously, we haven't focused on top of funnel traffic because that's been done beautifully by the SEO space with 31,000. And then if we go across, what we're trying to do is we're trying to close the loop. We're also trying to just drive directed quality traffic, hence 9.72 conversion rate and 728 conversions to the website over the last year. So it's basically that sort of shows the sort of congruence of the two beasts, SEO and ads, working together. Direct is the third and often most sort of talked to. That's if, say, they went directly to surelawyers.com.au and then they went into the website directly from the URL bar. Yeah.
But you can see like 6%. And that might happen through a referral, word of mouth, seeing a billboard on the side of the road, whatever, right? Just one little observation on this, duration, people spending more time when they click through an ad than they do through search. So that would indicate a more engaged user or just higher buy intent. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I think too that so you've got your bounce rates there, and you've got your page sessions, and you've got, the thing is everything's looking healthy there. Obviously, we want to get bounce rates as low as possible, but when you're driving 31,000 people that are searching for everything to do with criminal law, there's going to be some ring-ins to blogs and things. But I think that presentation and showing that top of funnel to everyone just brings the brand home. I think it's really, really strong metrics. That's why I think it's cool to show it off.
Awesome, man. No, you've done an amazing job. And we're coming to the tail end, so hang in there, everyone. Saxon, you gave an amazing analogy around playing soccer. Can you talk about absolutely. Soccer and this graph?
So what we just looked at before was the source medium, and when we looked at the conversions off to the right hand side of that page, it showed it showed the last click that generated the conversion. Whereas if you go to this other section in analytics called top conversion paths, what it's going to show is all of the different plays that led to that conversion. So the analogy with soccer is that, if I look at source medium, it's just Ronaldo scoring the goal and he gets all the glory. Whereas if we look at the top conversion paths, what we get to acknowledge is all of the different plays of all of the different players on the field passing to each other to then get to the point where Ronaldo scores the goal. And so what we can see in row 6 is that organic search was the first touch point. That was the first pass. Then it passed it off to direct. Direct got the conversion. Or 7 is organic search married up with paid search to kind of bring it home, led to the conversion. So we can acknowledge throughout this is that, all of these different relationships kick together and pass the ball to get the goal. And you throw in socials in the mixer and all of that, and you can have a long emails. You can have a long string of passes, and that's why I thought this was a cool page to show. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, so good, and it really is a team effort, which is just a really good way of sort of rounding things out, where different sources of traffic will yield different results, but when you put them together, it has this exponential effect that just lifts everything up. Mate, so good. We're going to hand over to the audience because we're literally at 30 minutes now. Does anyone, you've got an expert here on the call, does anyone have questions?
So you didn't mention Twitter. So yes. I think something that's useful to share about Sure Lawyers is that we don't run socials for Sure. Now, the reason for that is when someone is needing help with a criminal lawyer, it's usually quite it's a reactive response. And it's not something that necessarily they follow a brand, for a long term, because it's sort of like a when you need and let's fire it off right away kind of a scenario. And that's why Google's been a really powerful tool for us. But, with other clients that we might work together that have, brand and socials, and they're building that community following, Twitter and, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that, LinkedIn, they can become a really big player in the conversation that, when we look at the data for Sure, we don't sort of see that side of things because we don't, we don't need that one because of the SEOs, the traffic, and then the ads are driving the conclusion there. But, you would be able to, on a site that uses Twitter, as a traffic channel, be able to observe how Twitter fits in on that path, that conversion path.
Spot on. Any other questions in the mix before we sort of round things out? What we will do, we'll send out a recording of this call. Now, if anyone is interested in digging deeper into your business and how potentially a website coupled with amazing SEO and some paid traffic in there can transform your leads generating machine. Really the first step in this is what we call Web Strategy Workshop. It's a deep dive, highly interactive. We spend 2 hours with you either on Zoom or in person. It's fully interactive and engaging. You can actually learn a lot about digital. Hopefully today's been helpful. Give us a thumbs up in the chat if you found this helpful. Obviously, this will be very tailored to you and your industry. We go away and we do a bunch of research. We come back and we present that to you. So there's over 5 hours of value in this. Obviously, you get a complimentary copy of my book, Love at First Sight. And then if you choose to partner with us, we refund that off the project total. So the end result is you're going to learn a lot about, the opportunities that are at play. There's a copy of my book, bit of bedtime reading for anyone. That's it. So if you are interested, just head to 5by5.com.au. And can we all give the man Saxon a massive round of applause? Thanks for joining us today, buddy. I love what you do. I love your approach.
I appreciate you. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're a good human being, getting amazing outcomes for people. So thanks again for all you do.
No, thank you. Cheers, mate. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.